This is Financial Standard, the definitive source of news, thought leadership and analysis for Australian wealth management professionals. Financial Standard. Take the lead.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Financial Standard podcast. My name is Eliza Baven and I'm a senior journalist here at Financial Standard. The largest cohort in Australia's history are entering or about to enter retirement, with the ABS estimating 710,000 Australians will retire in the next 5 years. As the superannuation system prepares for this major change, many retirees are considering annuities as a way to ensure an income stream throughout retirement. But there are still myths surrounding annuities and retirement income more broadly. So to discuss some of those myths today, I'm joined by Minney, Head of Retirement Income Research at Challenger. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Hi, Eliza, and thanks for having me.
So let's start with the thought that annuities are a kind of all or nothing investment. There are some that believe that you have to invest all your capital into an annuity, for example. And while that's not the case, what are your thoughts on how annuities can fit into a portfolio?
Yeah, thanks, Eliza. Look, I might roll it back just one notch as well, just to explain what the annuity does for everybody, because I think sometimes that's missed a little bit as well. And what you're looking at with a lifetime annuity is simply a payment that's going to last as long as you do. So the money comes in every month, paid out consistently across the lifetime. And that's there because it's one of the client fears of sort of running out of money is what they worry about. So how do they draw down the money once they're in retirement? And this is where, the concept of, well, I'm worried about running out of money, I should put an annuity. People think, well, I've got to put it all into the annuity. And actually that's really, you don't have to, because while the annuity will last forever, all the money you spend in retirement is not going to be in the future, in the long distance future years. Some of the money you need in retirement is for now. And you don't need to have that in the annuity there. In fact, sort of work we've done with Mercer this year suggests it's really only 20 to 30% at most that you need to have in a lifetime income stream, like a lifetime annuity, to get the best results out of retirement portfolio.
Well, yes, and on that point, as you said, an annuity is designed to make sure that the investor has constant income for the remainder of their life. And while it is a touch morbid to talk about, it is an important point to hit on. There is that question of what happens to someone's money once they passed away. And I think there are some fears that some people have that if it's all been put into an annuity, that then what happens once they do pass away? Where does that money go? How can they make sure that that money is being passed on to those that perhaps they would like it to be passed on? Are there still concerns? I think there are some concerns with that today. Do you think those concerns are founded?
Look, I think there's definitely concerns. And, if you go back to it's about 14, 15 years ago now, the change in the Australian market really upped that by putting the death benefit attached to the annuity. And if you think about the traditional annuity, that's the way it worked. You got money that lasted as long as you lived, but once you stopped living, your money ran out. So, people who lived sort of 90, 95, 100, that's a great deal. The proverbial someone who sort of takes a policy, gets hit by the bus, that's a really bad deal. But what we found, and this was the actuaries in the back office here, they realised actually not that many people actually get hit by the bus or sort of buy a policy and die straight away. So it was relatively cheap to stick a death benefit, just like life insurance that you have while you're working, into the annuity. And pretty much every annuity in Australia today is sold with this death benefit. And it's so much so that when the government put all the new rules around better treatment for the age pension and the asset test treatment, they specifically built in a death benefit schedule to what they call the capital access schedule. So this is the amount that the maximum you can have available if you're still going to get these discounts for your asset test and qualify for a part age pension. And for a male taking an annuity out at sort of 67, that means the first 9 years, you'll get 100% of your money back. It does vary depending on what age you start, but in other words, 9 years, you get it all back. Well, you don't actually, your estate does. And so this fear about the losing it if you die is really unfounded in terms of what's available in the market today. And the other aspect about this, and this is something that you get to when you sort of look at the modelling and you go and get Mercer or another actuary to look at this stuff, is that the longer you survive, so if you make it to life expectancy, sort of around between 85 and 90, then the income that you've got out of the annuity is income that you haven't had to take from the rest of the portfolio. So what we're seeing, in the numbers is that someone who actually lives sort of to average or longer is actually going to leave a larger estate balance because they haven't had to spend their other income on the way through. And this is one of the advantages that the annuity does because it provides this retirement income. It's really designed to give you this income in retirement, that by having the income there, you don't need to tap your investments. And this is something that just compounds and gets rid of something called sequencing risk, but it works really well for most retirees.
Well, that actually brings me to my next point quite nicely, which is I wanted to ask you about returns because, due to the nature of annuities, there's kind of this concern that perhaps investing in them is prioritizing income, like sustainable income, sure, but still prioritizing that over higher or bigger returns. So how can advisors ensure that their clients don't have to sacrifice solid returns?
Yeah, and part of this, it gets back to the first point around it's part of the portfolio. You won't find a lot of advisors that'll have a retiree that walks in and says, right, you've got to be 100% invested in the market. So what you're trying to do with the annuity is just to take those defensive assets that you'd otherwise have. Instead of leaving them sitting in cash at the bank or in government bonds, you put them in this annuity, which provides competitive returns to defensive assets and keeps you invested and paying income for lifetime. So it's really efficient at generating the income. But what you're not doing is you're not taking away the growth from the other assets. I use an example. It's a bit like putting brakes on a race car. If you're in a racing car, you want to go fast. What you also want is you want to be able to stop when you get to the corner or slow down. So you put a bit of a brake in there. So what the annuity is doing is that's providing the chance to have the protection, provide the income for life. And what it then means is that for the rest of the portfolio, and we're talking here 70 to 80% of what you started with, you can still go out and invest that for growth. So you've got this base case here where an annuity shouldn't be changing your growth mix in that side there. It's a bit like, it's not quite steak knives, but what you've got more these days is some of the other innovations come through is that there are products available where you can put equity exposure inside the annuity. So they're called market-linked annuities. So you can have your income that acts like it's been invested in the market the whole time there. And that's what we see some people doing, but it's a chance to have the annuity through an investment product. And there's a range of options available there. But the more common one is the one to separate it out. So it's sort of like you've got the brake on one side and the accelerator on the other, and you're sort of using them as you need to throughout retirement.
Yeah, I mean, a market-linked annuity, one would assume that would then kind of go up and down as the market goes up and down. Would that kind of expose retirees to more risk?
Well, so what the market-linked annuity does is it solves this longevity risk problem. And that's a nice piece of jargon for this fear of people running out of money. Will my money last as long as me? If you put it in a lifetime annuity, and this is the concept where you've got these, the death benefits or survival credits, so the money lasts as long as you can invest that in anything. You can put it into market exposure, you can put it into defensive assets. What we've had historically is something that was very secure. What we found, and the most popular version of the annuity, is the one that actually doesn't go up and down with markets, because by the time you're retired, the focus is on your income. And what matters more to your income is not whether you're growing your assets, but whether your income is keeping up with the cost of living. So what we're finding is while there's these market-linked options available, people really want that CPI protection. And that's what you can do with a traditional annuity. You've got income that will go up every year with whatever inflation was in the past 12 months. So you can keep pace with what's happening in the cost of living. And that's something that retirees find really helpful. So it solves the problem of money lasts forever. It keeps up with the cost of living. And if you do it properly, you can get your exposure to the other assets from the rest of the portfolio there. And it's really good from a planning point of view. A lot of work for the advisor to do to sort of put the right mix together there, but it means that they can solve the problems for the client and still have the sugar on top in terms of, providing that real upside that they're provided for the client all the way through their working lives.
Aaron Minney, Head of Retirement Income Research at Challenger, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Eliza. It's been great joining you and your listeners today.
Thanks for listening to this Financial Standard podcast. For more information, visit financialstandard.com.au. Please keep in mind that the information discussed in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider personal circumstances. Reliance should not be placed on any content without further independent financial research and advice.